This episode originally aired on June 21st, 2020.
Welcome to Business Infrastructure, the podcast about curing back office blues of fast-growing businesses. If you're a business owner or operator looking for practical tips and solutions to scaling your business in a sustainable manner, you're in the right place. Now here's your hostess, Alicia Butler-Pierre.
Today's episode is brought to you by Equilibria Incorporated, an operations management firm giving fast-growing companies tools to scale with less chaos. Learn more at eqbsystems.com. This season, we are talking to COOs, the Chief Operating Officers, sometimes called the second in command, and we're in for a real treat today. Joining me today from Amman, Jordan, is Mohammed Ali. With his extensive background in operations, he's going to give us a 360-degree view of best practices for being a COO, as well as tips for selecting a COO to run your operations. Mohammed, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Well, hello, Alicia. I'm fine, thank you.
I noticed you laughed.
Forward to this moment.
Yes. Energy and enthusiasm. I love it.
Yeah,
now, I noticed you laughed. You chuckled when I pronounced your name. Why?
No, that's right. You can just call me Muhammad Ali.
Yes, Muhammad Ali.
But it's nothing to do with floating like a butterfly or spinning like a bee. It's just my name is Muhammad Ali. It's a combined name,
Yes.
It was given to me by my grandfather. He just, when I was born, he gave his name to me as a gift. So that's why my name is just, call me Muhammad Ali.
Okay, and so are you a champion, like the boxer, Muhammad Ali?
Maybe a champion in operations.
You're a champion of operations, that's right.
I hope so, yeah.
Now, I just have to share with the audience, I did not give a proper introduction of you. And honestly, I struggled with exactly what to say to open this show with, because my goodness, you have such a rich history in all kinds of different fields. And I was thinking, how on earth am I going to summarize all this? And Mohammed, you're the type of person where it's really unrealistic to ask you to summarize your life's work in 140 characters or less, because even as I looked at your LinkedIn profile, that short bio that we all have to provide, I thought, wow, there's no way we could cram everything that he's done and everything that you represent into 140 characters or less. But listen to this, everyone. Mohammed is actually credited with introducing lean manufacturing to Jordan. Wow. Definitely want to know more about that. And you also started the first automobile manufacturing company in Jordan. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And not only that, Mohammed also has a wealth of experience in military science, strategy, innovation, culture, finance, performance, and operational excellence. And believe it or not, I'm only scratching the surface. But even with all of those accomplishments, Mohammed, I think I personally felt an instant connection with you because we both have backgrounds in chemical engineering.
That's right.
And
guess what?
Yes.
Guess what, Alicia?
What?
I knew that you were a chemical engineer even before I read your profile. Guess how?
How?
I mean,
Please
who
tell
in the world would call her company Equilibria? She was a chemical engineer. Isn't that right?
So that is exactly right.
Okay. Yeah, we have something in common, that we are both started as chemical engineers. And I tell you what, chemical engineering gave me a lot of insight into management. And maybe while I go through, the interview, will come to some of the points that I will pinpoint about, how chemical engineering helped me, during my operations journey.
Well, that would actually be a great place to start, if you don't mind, because that's actually one of the first things I wanted to ask you is, how on earth did you go from being a chemical engineer to moving up the ranks in the military and ultimately becoming a COO? So please walk us through that journey, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I will, and I'll try to be as fast as possible. Actually, I read chemical engineering in the United Kingdom at the University of Aston in Birmingham. I graduated in the summer of 1981, came back to Jordan, and joined the Jordan Armed Forces. And of course, after I received my basic training, I was very lucky to have been deployed to a very recent and new at the time, a state-of-the-art facility for rebuilding military vehicles. Actually, I ended up spending most of my 20-year service in the Army in that particular facility. Anyway, when I was a young engineer, I was in charge, first of all, of the metal finishing department, including surface cleaning, electroplating, hard chromium plating, painting, and also operating the chemical waste treatment unit. Now, my job as a chemical engineer was also part of the big job of rebuilding vehicles, which actually required a lot of planning, operations management, and quality control. Now, technically, I was very sound because I was a very good process engineer, but I felt that I had lacked the proper management tools to run my operations efficiently. As you know, Alicia, in chemical engineering, we learn process engineering and not operations management per se.
Yes.
So that was actually the trigger point. So I started educating myself on numerous industrial management topics, such as production planning and control, scheduling, quality management, sampling plans, and so on. So I had then to dive deep into cost accounting. That was another turning point, because I was tasked with establishing a cost accounting unit for the workshops, because I had no clue about cost accounting. Then I had to learn a lot about it. Eventually, and that was in the early 90s, I established the unit, and it was a manual system, considering the computer software and spreadsheets were not so popular at that time. Anyway, in 1992, while I was still in the Army, an opportunity presented itself when the Jordan Army permitted the Army officers to pursue postgraduate studies if they met certain conditions. So fortunately, I was granted a 2-year unpaid vacation, and I joined a master's course in industrial engineering / industrial management at the University of Jordan. Of course, it was very difficult for me to survive the 2 years without an income because it was an unpaid vacation. So I started my own small practice for hard chromium plating services, and I went into a partnership with a friend, and this small business secured me a small income. Plus, my wife was a teacher, and she was great support to me to get through the 2 years, especially that we had our eldest daughter at the time. Now, that master's course was really, really a turning point in my life because it showed me what operations management was all about. And the course was really enjoyable and very useful to me. Actually, the course was new at the time and had been established by the USAID here in Jordan. And we had a couple of really good visiting professors from the USA. And I was lucky to have had one of them supervise my thesis, whom I also befriended, and he gave me a lot of really good management tips because he was a really experienced guy. Now, during my master's course, and that answers one of your questions, I fell in love with 2 main subjects. The first one was lean manufacturing, which I had only, the first time I heard about was during my master's course. And the other one was computer simulation. And I felt I had the passion to dig more into these 2 streams. So after my retirement from the Jordan Armed Forces in 2001, I got in contact with the Kaizen Institute of Japan, and I joined the Kaizen Institute as a junior consultant.
Wow.
And I was really lucky, to have worked closely with Mr. Masaki Imai himself.
Really?
Yep, that's right. Mr. Masaki Imai, he was, and he's still alive, really, now he's a very old man now, but he's doing a really good job. He was the founder of the Kaizen Institute, and he's the author of 2 bestseller books on Kaizen. I'm sure you know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Mr. Imai, he visited me in Jordan, and then I accompanied him on a tour to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and then to the United Arab Emirates. I learned a lot from him because Mr. Imai, during the 80s, he played a main role to establish the Kaizen movement in North America, and he guided big companies into Kaizen. Of course, I received a lot of hands-on training from senior Kaizen consultants, and I participated in many workshops in Jordan and the Arab region, also in Kenya. So that was the starting point, and that's when, at that time, I was one of the very few Jordanians who practiced lean manufacturing. And at that time, I was known by my friends as the lean guru of Jordan.
Wow.
Okay, that's right. And as far as the simulation was concerned, I also became the distributor for ProModel in some parts of the Middle East. I don't know if you've heard of ProModel. ProModel is a very well-known American simulation software vendor. The company's offices are located in Salt Lake City in Utah.
Okay.
Of course, I received many training courses, and I also became a certified ProModel consultant and trainer. And my passion for statistics also helped me in my simulation work, because simulation has a lot of statistical analysis accompanied with it, And simulation helped me to understand the dynamics of operations very, very well. And I worked for ProModel for like 10 years, and I don't work with them anymore now. Anyway, this is my first part of the story. When I was a young engineer, chemical engineer, I needed more education in operations management. So I joined my master's degree course, and I got my degree, and I concentrated on lean manufacturing and simulation. And after that, after I left the military, I was offered a job as the managing director of the manufacturing company that was part of a big organization in the defense industry. I was really pleased to have this opportunity because I wanted to implement my operations knowledge and skills now as an organization leader rather than just a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to move into the world of business. So that's how actually my journey was. It was a very smooth transformation from a process engineer into management and then into business. And this company that you mentioned earlier, yes, it built 4x4 utility vehicles. And literally, it was the first automobile, manufacturing company in Jordan. And I had the chance to implement most of the tools of lean manufacturing in the factory. And then I was moved to another company, sister company within the same organization as a managing director. And early 2010, I was selected to become the chief operations officer, the COO of the investment group of the same organization, which that group was formed to oversee 10 companies specialized in the defense manufacturing with diversity in products. And I had been the COO 14 years since then, from 2010 until 2020. That's my story.
Wow. And quite a story it is. And here's what's so amazing to me, Mohammed.
Mhm.
Listening to your transition from being a process engineer, going into management, and then ultimately just going into business for yourself, and even mentoring other small business leaders.
Yep.
It's very similar to my path, but you are far more successful, I believe, in your transition. My transition, I wish I could say it was as smooth as yours, but my transition was very choppy and definitely not always intentional. But I'm curious to know, have you noticed a common thread across all of your work, from when you were a process engineer building military vehicles to your postgraduate studies in industrial engineering to working in management? Has there been a common thread? And if so, what is that common thread?
I know. It was just starting to get good, right? Well, there's more where that came from. To listen to the full interview, be sure to click the link in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell so that you'll know when our next episode drops. Until then, keep operating smoothly.
Join us next week for another episode of Business Infrastructure with Alicia Butler Pierre.